Welcome back, scholars. Today we're talking about top tips for art critiques. If you're going to be doing a formal art critique, some things to keep in mind. And if some of the terms that I'm using don't sound familiar, please go back and watch the Art Toolkit Terminology series or the term review if they only kind of sort of seem a bit dim in your memory. All right, so starting out, easy tiger when it comes to just getting straight into the middle of the painting. Approach it like you're gently approaching a predator in the wild. No, maybe not. But you want to start with something like the genre, as in what is it? Is it an illuminated manuscript like we've got here from Lindisfarne for our example? Or is it a sculpture, a painting, a wall fresco? What is it? Is a great start. Material, what is it made of as far as you can tell? And technique, how was it made? These are your sort of three openers to just help us identify it. Of course, if you know the title of the piece, the artist, and the year, go ahead and slap that out there at the beginning as well. But these early descriptors are required. And that is really important because you're just sort of getting us into what it is we're looking at. And then we can get into the, oh, that's so 9th century European or whatever it is that you're talking about, because that's kind of part 2 of what a critique needs to look like. So when you're making these observations about genre, medium, technique, date, age range, one thing that I highly above all must stress is the difference between accuracy and precision. I always need you to be accurate. I don't always need you to be as precise as possible. So if you're not sure if it was 1592 or 1596, you would still be correct, as in you would be accurate if you said 1590s. Right? If you're not sure if it's Austria or Switzerland, but it was definitely Northern Europe, go with correct, but not maybe as specific. So we're looking at accuracy as being right and precision being as specific and detailed as you can get. I would love you to be as specific and detailed and precise as you can get, but not at the cost of accuracy. So don't be wrong just because you were getting more specific. For example, in archaeology, I think about when we talk about cave art and we're trying to identify the different figures. If you think it's a deer, but it might be an ibex, it might be some other horned ungulate, you can say ungulate, which means I definitely know that it's that kind of hooved animal. If you're not sure if it's a hooved animal, or it might be a dog, and dogs are not ungulates, they don't have hooves, they have feet, then we're going to go with quadruped, because it's something that walks on 4 legs. So we want to be correct without getting overly detailed with the precision. So if you're not sure, bring it back 1 notch in specificity to make absolutely certain that you're right before you get into the detail. All right, so genre, medium, technique, what is it? What is it made of? How is it made? You can then start getting into the composition, the line, the color scheme. Is it warm analogous, cool analogous, complementary? We have a lot of different options here, but as you see, sometimes there are several answers that could be right. And how do you justify your critique as being accurate if you just throw out there, this is a complementary color scheme? Boom. Why? Show me that you know what a complementary color scheme means. Remember, complement with an E is in complete, not compliment with an I as in like, oh, you look lovely today. Complementary means, right, 2 opposites of that color wheel, so that we've got one side, whoop, all the way around to the other side, we've completed a turn around the wheel, right? So you got those opposites, complementary color scheme. And what you're going to want to do is then point to, we've got these blues and greens in this piece, as well as these reds and oranges. And so you've got the whole color wheel being represented here, complementary. So defining that we know that you know that I know that you know what those words mean, but also point to what you're looking at, right? You can have something like, we've got hierarchical perspective going on here. And I would say, are you sure? I kind of see some vanishing line perspective. But when you say hierarchical, because the Virgin Mary, shown kind of front and center there in her blue robes, is much larger than the angels that are depicted above her, even though they may actually be closer in the foreground, or at least at the same area of depth in the picture plane, but they are much smaller. Therefore, you think this is a hierarchical perspective. I would go, oh, okay. Why? Because I can follow what you're looking at to make those observations. So with everything that you say, if you want to say this is so Baroque, this is so Rococo, this is so whatever it is, I need you to justify that by pointing exactly where you are looking in that image, in that work of art, to make that observation. So show me what you're looking at, walk me through what you're seeing and why you think it is what thing. And if it's something that could go either way, and you've walked me through why you think that, and I've got a justification there that I'm like, all right, sounds accurate to me. I follow what you're saying, and all those words make sense. That's a good art critique. And the reason why critiques still are a thing, still happen, especially with historic works, it's because we can all, as art scholars, start disagreeing about certain nitty-gritties. And the way you make that argument is not just saying, you think it's Baroque, I think it's Rococo, end of conversation, and be like, well, agree to disagree. You justify it by pointing at what you're looking at in that work of art that gives you that stylistic idea, gives you that observation, and helps kind of situate, oh, you say that this was made in northern Italy. I think this was actually made in southern Germany. And if I can point to, you're pointing at exactly what evidence you're finding. I mean, it's just like a research paper with words that you've got to point to your, like, cite your sources, right? Show me your evidence. Show me where you found a scholar quoting that. Right here, you're doing show me in the primary work, show me what you're looking at to have made that observation. So when you are working sort of genre, medium, technique, what is it, how's it made, when it was made, and you're getting into composition, line, number, and you want to start talking about repetition, vanishing point perspective, atmospheric perspective, any sort of observations that you want to make, use the right terminology, because that is the language of art critique, and then make sure that you're pointing at an example of where you're seeing that in the work. Making sure that you're connecting what you're saying to what you're seeing and walking your audience through that, you're going to have a successful art critique.